Good morning, friends. Today we are going to learn the next part of general topic of paper English novel for your semester 6th. In the previous lectures, we learned about the other general topics, that is the psychological novel, historical novel, and satirical novel. And now we are going to learn the epistolary novel. The epistolary novel. What is the meaning of epistolary? That is, it is written in episode. It is written in the form of letters. One by one in the letters there is a description of the events. That's why it is called written in the episode, that is epistolary novel, which is a prominent form among modern fictions, is defined as a novel presented wholly or nearly so in familiar letter form. Familiar letter forms, why it is called as familiar? Because it is immediately read out and easily understand. Its history reaches back to classical literature, taking special inspiration from the separate traditions of the Roman letter writers Cicero and Pliny, and of Ovid's Herodes before 8th century English translation 1567, a series of verse letters celebrating famous heroines of myth. See here, epistle novel is having a roots from the classical literature, and those writers wrote the verse letters or the series of verse letters. From that period there is a tradition of epistolary novel, and there is a subject of these novels are, or the verse letters are, famous heroines of myths. So here we can understand epistolary novel is having a background from the classical literature. Familiar letters as such developed slowly in a world where literacy was rare, but the epistle, a classical rhetorical form defined by the rules of oratory, was a favorite means of expression for many scholars of the Europe Middle Ages and Renaissance, yielding learned letters in both prose and verse, most common at first in Latin, then in the vernacular. So, the familiar letters at that time are developed slowly, and which is called as a classical rhetorical form, though it is defined by the rules of oratory and favorite means of expression for many scholars of the European Middle Ages. So here we can understand familiar letters from the each literature is taken in this epistolary form. So, from the classical literature till to the modern literature, we can understand this form is exist, and the latest famous letters from particular period are as a epistolary taken in a epistolary form, and those letters are survived and called as a series of letters, and now it is become famous as a epistolary novel. The 16th century saw the first dated translation of Ovid's Herodes into French in 1500. The mid-century welcomed with great enthusiasm the first pure epistolary novels, John de Segora's Proceso de Cartes and Alvais Parasquiligo, daily letter Amorese. So here we can understand how the 16th century also developed a epistolary form in the translation, and how it is translated in a form of letters. And in mid century also, in mid 16th century, there is a pure epistolary novels. Letters were used as tools in the earliest modern novels and romances, for they answered the frequent problem of communication between separated lovers. See what kind of subjects are used in the epistolary novel, that is the frequent problem of communication between separated lovers, as well as the giving the opportunity to multiply complications and mischances by having letters discovered by enemies, lost and intercepted, misinterpreted, or received out of time and season. So, from the classical literature till the 16th century, this form is developed and there are the letters and the subject of letters are varied. So here we can understand how those letters are important one and become a major form of the novel, that is particularly the English novel. In the next lecture we will see the 16th after the 16th century how it is developed in the 17th century and 18th century and what are the characteristics particularly related to the English novel. In the next lecture we will see about it. Till then, stay home, stay so safe.